What do I do with my hands? No, I'm just kidding.
We're good.
I can't see anything.
It's there's a delay on the actual video.
Oh, okay.
So you're actually live.
Hi, everyone. My name's Emily Campbell. I'm an account director here and team lead at voices.com for our client sales department. And I'm here to answer all your questions about auditioning and tips for auditioning and, of course, files, sessions, any questions you have. So bring them in. I'm excited to get started. We had a question from socials asking, what's the biggest mistake that we typically see when talents are auditioning? And I think the biggest mistake to avoid is probably not reading the job posting thoroughly. Oftentimes we're asking questions in there like specific availability for directed sessions, or perhaps we need your source connect information or specific information that the client requires in order to make their final decision. And sometimes talents may be auditioning quite quickly during the day, and we just want to remind you that it's really important to double check what's required in the job posting and answer those questions in your proposal. Then you'll be more inclined to be included on the shortlist. And it saves time in the sales cycle as well, because we can get those auditions to the client faster without having to go back and confirm all those little details. Another question we received is it risky to make a script your own, or should you stick to exactly what is being asked? I think this is an interesting question, and the answer really depends on what you want to do to make it your own. I think offering another take, implementing some new direction, like for example, if you want to say take two is more conversational tone, I think that's absolutely okay. Voice talents are also experts in their fields, so bringing that expertise to your auditioning is really important. I think the only time that I would stay away from making something your own is changing a script to make it your own. Often these scripts go through multiple rounds of approvals with multiple sets of people, legal checks, so changing a script may actually result in you not being able to be considered for the project. Let's check out another question. Is it best to niche down, or do you suggest auditioning for a variety of styles? This is an interesting one. I think definitely you should stick within your wheelhouse of what you know, but don't be afraid to audition for things outside of your comfort zone. So if you typically record e-learning projects and have a more formal and professional tone, I think you should definitely try putting your hat in the ring for things like commercials or video games that require a more performance-based read. Where I would steer clear of is venturing into representations outside your wheelhouse. Like if the job posting or audition requires an African American, then I would stick to things within your native language or accent. But I think venturing outside of your comfort zone in terms of delving into the commercial work or video games, or even if you're usually doing performance-based and you want to go check out what the e-learning or medical learning projects are like, definitely check those out because you'd be surprised. We're always looking for new and memorable voices. Hi, everyone. Hello, Sadif. Another question we received is, what's the hardest type of voice to find? In my experience, I've been working here for almost 10 years, so I have a lot of experience with different voice requirements. And honestly, I would say people indigenous to North America or Native American voices are by far the hardest for us to cast for. Of course, this has to do with a lot of reasons, not a lot of resources for that community, perhaps voice acting education isn't readily available to those communities, or maybe even social funding. I really wish that we could work and find better ways to represent these communities. So if anybody knows any Native American people hoping to become voice talents, we'd love to hear from them. But definitely I would say that's the most underserved accent or language at this time. Why does every single American production not cast French actors for French roles? Typically, actually, Canadian clients, it is actually governed by Canadian government that usually any announcements or commercials have to be produced in both English, North American, and French Canadian for the Canadian Quebec market. So oftentimes this isn't a requirement for American audiences. There's not a lot of French Canadian or French speakers in those areas. So Canadian clients would be most likely to hire an English as well as a French Canadian actor for those projects. Hi, Jesse Adam. Love working with Jesse. He's one of my favorite Canadian talents. Question we have is, should I try to add atmosphere into my demos? I like to really grab the attention of the listener. So what are some things that catch your attention the most? I would say be very careful adding background music or sounds that aren't required. Oftentimes, when they're reviewing auditions, they need to be able to compare them to maybe a scratch read, compare them to a scratch video, and adding in these extra elements may actually result in your audition not being included with the end client because it's adding in music and different elements that aren't going to be included in the final production. So oftentimes in the audition phase, you're not really brought into what the whole project will look like. And so sticking to just having dry reads and following the direction is always best. unless you've been asked to add an atmosphere or your own interpretation of the spot or the project being requested. How much has the file? How much does the file have to be edited before I send it is, I think, what you're asking, Clara. Correct me if I'm wrong. Honestly, just some quick debriefing, ensuring that there's no room noise within it would be perfectly fine. We don't expect every audition file to be professionally edited or anything. So just ensuring that there's no, say, outside noise and that your voice is clear, the volume level is clear, is what's most important. If voice acting education isn't so readily available, then why is it so expensive? Especially online prices may vary, but oftentimes it's very high. That's a very good question. I think there's a lot of online free resources to look into before maybe spending a lot of money on the education to ensure this is the right fit for you before investing in it. But perhaps we can provide some links to online resources for you. There's a lot of other voice talents. We have several blog posts. I recommend checking out Mission Audition. Actually, Jesse Adams was just recently included in one of our Mission Audition posts. So definitely look to your fellow voice talents for a lot of these expertise. We definitely have resources we include them in to help educate the voice talent community as a greater whole. You're on Voices as Aaron had some great work on there and really intrigued to know what clients are looking for. Clients are looking for, it depends on the voice project, honestly. Something that they might be looking for in a project that's a video game will be a lot different than what a client might be looking for a medical read. So I do recommend reading the audition direction, ensuring that if you have any questions, feel free to get in contact with us and clarify anything before auditioning. We respond very quickly through the website. And also you should have information on how to get in touch with our support team to answer questions. There's a lot of great resources here if you have any questions on the go before auditioning. If I'm doing a first demo, should I pay for one? I recommend ensuring that, like I said, just with the auditions, your demo should be debriefed. There should be no background noise, ensuring that the volume is up to par. Those are the three most important things. But I do think there is a lot of value in paying for a professional demo to present you just like your cover letter. You want to present your best self, so I recommend investing in your demo for your profile because it will go a long way. Clients do listen to those demos. Oftentimes we have clients who don't post job postings and will find talents through the top talents or even just new talents. They'll look through demos and choose from there and ask us to get in contact based on demos. So ensuring that you have a good demo to present to clients is providing a good first impression. What is, in your opinion, is the most competitive niche in voiceover? The most competitive niche, I would say large video game projects, large commercial English projects, I think are the most competitive. I think now we're seeing a lot more opportunities for diversity within these projects. But definitely, I would say they have the highest budgets and therefore obviously attract more people to audition. And so those would be the most competitive. Anything broadcast usually has a higher budget for it. And so that would be why it would be more competitive. Joy, nice to see you, Joy West. Is there a demand for voice artists who can do animal sounds? And is there a section on the site for those who want to demonstrate? Well, that's a really good question. We don't currently have anything on the site for you to demonstrate those. I do encourage you to upload a demo to your profile if you're able to do that. There's often times where we need performance-based work in animation, say cartoons for children, YouTube videos for children require a lot of animal type sounds or character type sounds. Video games, again, they require these types of performance-based work. So I highly encourage you, if you're able to do other voice work, put it in a demo and add it to your profile. It'll be searchable. Is it important to use mic to record voices if I only use mobile to record? I do recommend, if you're in a tight spot and you can only record over your phone, I do recommend uploading it and just putting in your proposal that this is just a phone recording, you're away from studio at the time, but you want to be considered. But you can always edit that file when you get home, but I do think because of the quality that comes across in iPhone recordings, you're less likely to be considered in the end. I do highly recommend using a setup and a proper mic to upload your auditions. What if there's a project that I would really like a shot at being casted in? Should I take my shot at sending a professional email with a demo of what I can offer? Everything done through Voices is done through our platform. So I highly encourage you to use the proposal section. Those act as a cover letter. So exactly what you're asking, like a professional email, that's the section where you're going to want to put the information that you would put in a professional email. So anything you want the client to know, your past experience, your top clients that you work with now, different ways you may be able to add some value to maybe the spots about something specific socially that you have experience in. Any of that information should be shared in the proposal section. It is available to everyone. All of the voices.com employees read these proposals before sending shortlists as well. So that's where you're going to want to include that information. And we're always happy to hear from any voice talent through email, but I do think that you'll have more visibility if it's left on the platform. Are clients casting more auditions from demos or samples? I do believe that more clients hire through custom auditions. There are times when there's no need to custom audition, there's no script available, or they're just interested in choosing off general demos, but I would say those are the exception to the rule.
Yet another good question. What are 3 or more qualities, behaviors that clients consistently respond positively from talent? What gets the so nice when it happens response?
What gets the so nice when it happens response? 3 qualities. I would say people who read the job posting thoroughly and follow direction thoroughly definitely is a big plus. It saves time on the reviewers. It saves the reviewers' time as well as the end client's time. Another one I would say is having a clear voice, no slating, something that they can just jump into hearing your read. Offering more than one take as well is a great idea. I would say those will be the 3 top things that would get your audition included in the shortlist faster. Our clients, let me jump over here. Conversational is so popular, but what do you see as the next biggest trend in VO styles? Honestly, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, the announcer voice was all over YouTube. It was the most popular. I don't think conversational is going anywhere, to be honest. Society now really it depends on authenticity to reach markets and reach audiences, the relatability. So I think conversational reads are here to stay, at least for the next few years. Of course, those are more for commercial work, not so much like medical type e-learning projects. Those require more of a professional and straightforward read. But I don't think in commercial, I think everyone's still going to be looking for the guy next door, girl next door, person next door, relatable, down-to-earth read for a long time coming. How common are guided recording sessions with clients, or does it depend on the type of project? Howard, I would say directed sessions are really common for commercial work, video game work, anything that's performance-based. Anything from major agencies or major enterprise brands will require a directed session. And I do think this is beneficial to the voice talent as well. It will save your time going back and forth, doing revisions for tone and pronunciations. It also allows you to connect with the client directly. There's always some great banter and advice and direction provided on these sessions. And I think it will prepare you for larger, more commercial work if you're not used to doing directed sessions. I always find that it saves the voice talent's time as well as the client's time jumping on a session and getting that exact read that they're looking for the first time, rather than going back and forth on revisions several times to get it right. I just genuinely don't know where to start. Do I make a demo? Do I just cold call people? How does one begin with no experience? I think my best advice to you would be to speak with a coach, speak with other voice talents in the industries. They're great resources for you. Learn what your niche is. What's your voice type? I think to start, you should have a great demo for your profile to allow for visibility. And then going from there, start with what you're comfortable with. It's not going to be an overnight process. It takes time to really understand how to read direction and what the clients are looking for. So don't give up. I think that starting with what you're most comfortable with, audition for those jobs and branch out from there would be my best advice to begin. Would you look into a client has done voice education, or if they are self-taught, and how would that affect how you feel they would perform? Never am I looking at whether a voice talent has been professionally coached or professionally educated versus whether they're self-taught in hiring them for a project or promoting them or advocating for them with a client. It is the quality of the read that matters most. Are you able to meet their deadline expectations, their turnaround expectations, their technical requirements? And does your audition read sound professional? And does it follow the direction that they're looking for? That's what matters most. You could be educated at the Harvard of voice education, and it could be that someone self-taught is just understanding the direction better than you are. And so I don't think you need to invest in the most expensive education to be considered or to be successful. When you say making sure the volume level is up to par, generally is more volume better or more appealing to the client? I think it's important to listen to your auditions back. Often when we review auditions, we'll go through and ensuring that they're at broadcast quality volume is what you need to do. Sometimes when we're reading through auditions, there'll be a certain audition that there's room noise or the volume drops significantly. So I think it's important to listen to your auditions back before you're uploading them to the site. And of course, we have great resources here to help you if you have questions about any peak volumes or anything like that. How can I start? That's a very loaded question, Learning Hub. I would say start by speaking with other voice talents. Get on those online forums. Learn from them. I think that's the best way to start and to see if this is the right career path for you. I always have people come up to me and say, "What do you think of my voice?" And that's a very loaded question. I think you really need to know are you interested in audio editing? Are you interested in working freelance and working by yourself? Like, there's a lot of things involved in the voiceover industry that it's not just jumping into a booth and using your really interesting voice. I think you should definitely read through some blogs we have and some support forums we have and see if perhaps it's the right time and right industry for you. Do clients prefer us to slate our auditions? Unless requested, clients prefer you to not slate your auditions. And this is because when your audition is delivered, your name is clearly displayed with your audition. We never hide your name or anything. So all that information is clear to them. What it does is it requires them oftentimes to remove your slate in order to include it in a final review for a client. So when you want it to, when they're going in to review the reads, they want to hear the reads one after another so that they can compare them. And often slating your auditions is taking them outside of that experience, and it kind of sticks out in not a great way. So unless you're requested to, I don't recommend slating your auditions for voices.com. Your name and everything is displayed on the audition. Do you guys offer one-on-one
sessions?
Do you guys offer one-on-one sessions? If I get lost where I want to proceed on voices, it would be reassuring to have a guide when things are confusing. Definitely get in touch with us. We have resources here that we can guide you to, and provide some great feedback on your demos or your profiles. So get in touch with our support team and check out our help resources. You're welcome. I'm glad to hear you don't slate. What are some favorite brands for me to work with? I think this is kind of a callback to an earlier question. I love working with Canadian brands because that generally means that they're not only going to do the project in English, they're also going to require a French-Canadian talent. And that automatically means we have more opportunities for our voice talent. So Canadian brands I really like to work with. I'm also located in Canada, so that might make me impartial, but I also really love to work with video game clients. I think these are always, for me, the most interesting castings to review. It gives the talent a little bit more freedom to make it their own, to kind of interpret the direction and provide like a voice that's not just a general read. It's like you're putting on a character, and those are always the most fun for us to review internally. Another question we came up with is, can you explain what happens on a typical directed session? So I think of the most basic directed session would have you join via an online conference system, so Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and just basically merely just having you record the reading while someone listens in so that they can let you know any pronunciations that may be off. These are very popular for, say, medical e-learning, where there's specific pronunciations for medical terms that need to be followed. And so we offer directed sessions for those because it allows them to correct them on the spot. Oftentimes, directed sessions may require a few end clients. So they get a little bit more complicated for commercial work. Sometimes you may be required to have something like Source Connect, which allows the talent to connect with the client, and the client actually records the files on their end. I do really like Source Connect sessions because it allows the talent to focus on their performance and the read, and you don't need to worry about all of the cutting or the editing or the playback. So Source Connect sessions are really great. I do recommend Source Connect for anyone that's looking to get into commercial work. A lot of agencies and commercial clients do require Source Connect. Other than Source Connect, being able to play back audio is a great thing to have when joining a directed session. It's one thing to be able to hear the talent read and just have the client mark those best takes, but being able to play back that audio for them to hear it again and compare to the audio maybe on a previous take is a really valuable asset to have in directed sessions. Aside from voices, places like Backstage and Casting Call Club, would you recommend them as places for resources as a good start for smaller, easier projects? I honestly don't recommend anything outside of voices.com. We are the #1 voice marketplace. We work very hard to ensure we bring a lot of opportunities to our talents. We do have our talents' interests in mind. We are constantly consulting and coaching clients on how to bring budgets up and ensure that they're following standard industry rates wherever possible. So I do recommend sticking with voices. Some of the I shouldn't speak about other resources, but I do recommend getting your start on voices, where we have a minimum that we allow people to post jobs for, to ensure that clients aren't going to take advantage of newer, less experienced talent. Hi, Bailey. Bailey says she loves Source Connect too. Bailey's a great talent we work with all of the time. I have a lot of experience with Bailey. Nice to see you. She says it makes it so convenient for talent and client. And like I said, exactly. It allows the talent to concentrate on their performance and the read, and it allows the client themselves to have the files very quickly and start editing those and working with them on their end on the go. Let me see if there's any. What do you look for when shortlisting talent? When I am shortlisting talent for projects, I look for them following the direction. Did they answer the questions we had in the job posting? If I require you to confirm that you're available, say Friday for a session, I really want you to confirm in that proposal that you're available Friday for that session, because that shows that you're going to follow direction well. It saves time for me and the end client, as well as our client project managers who are often coordinating these deliverable essentials, as well as coordinating sessions with the talent. If we ask if you have Source Connect, please confirm your ID and your proposal. All these things can save time. But the most important thing when shortlisting talent is, do they match the direction and tone of what was provided from the client? That's the number one. There's other things that we can work with if a session requires Source Connect, but say the talent is a really great talent, we will offer other solutions. But generally, we do hope you follow the directions in the recording and answer those questions in order for us to shortlist you for the project. When starting out without reviews or ratings or jobs, do clients really take chances on newbies? What's your best advice to get that first job? Absolutely. I always offer include newer talents on shortlists, because I love having a new talent to include. I think always audition. It doesn't matter necessarily your ratings, especially for those smaller jobs. You are more likely to land a smaller job, which will then get you the ratings, which will then increase your visibility, and other people will then hire you. Don't be afraid to throw your hat in the ring in those large commercial, large budget jobs as well. But I think you'd be most likely to get hired for the smaller jobs and then work your way up from there. Do you have tips for people who are interested in getting into commercial work? Well, Joya, I think the best tip would be to know your voice type, know what your voice can do, and to ensure you're auditioning for the jobs that best fit your voice type. Don't be afraid to work outside of perhaps what your comfort zone is, and throw your hat in the ring in those commercial jobs. We're also, localization is a big thing for commercial work. So if you have a specific accent or voice type, we're always looking to localize English jobs into multi-languages all over the world. Other tips would be to ensure that you're comfortable with your recording setup. Ensure that you have noise cancellation in your area, that we can't hear echoes or anything, and that you're comfortable jumping on a directed session with the client, because most commercial work will require the talent to be directed while they record. Are there live readings and casting circles where everyone will get on and read the scripts? Ensemble recordings actually are becoming more prevalent, especially for video game projects. I keep bringing those up. Animation projects. Yes, oftentimes we do ensemble recordings. There's several ways we can do this depending on what the client needs. What we can do is have a Source Connect. I think up to like 5 people can join a Source Connect line, and so they can all record together. Other ways we do this is, if it's more like an e-learning or learning type project, we'll have the first roll record, send that file to the second talent to then edit in their responses. But we are getting more jobs that require ensemble recordings, which are really fun directed sessions to join. So keep your eye out. Those are becoming more prevalent. How do you recommend setting up our profiles to ensure we get the best coverage for casting calls? I think make sure that you have your tech specs. We want to know what microphone you're using, what software you're using to edit, past clients, I love to see what other past clients you've worked with. Also, ensuring that you have demos for each different project type. We want to see your commercial demo versus your e-learning demo. Ensure that those are uploaded for your visibility and for client visibility.
Good question from Annabelle. Some scripts are very long. Do you suggest a certain limit for audition duration?
Some scripts are very long. Do we require a certain limit for audition duration? Honestly, I would take 3 to 4 sentences, a paragraph, and record up to maybe 25 seconds for your audition. I don't think talent should be required to record an entire e-learning project to be considered. Really, all we're looking for is to understand how you sound reading the client content, because that will give the client more confidence in choosing your voice, because they're able to hear how you sound reading their own specific content. So a quick up to 30 seconds is fine. Don't feel like you have to read multiple minutes of recording to be considered. We need more Arabic projects. We're working on going into new markets. We always have a lot of Arabic work in e-learning, but more commercial work. We're working on getting those opportunities for you. So stay tuned and ensure that your profile is up to date with your Arabic demos to be considered.
Can you guide us on the duration of a first demo?
Guide us on the duration of a first demo. I think a commercial demo, feel free to include multiple clips. It doesn't have to be just one commercial that you've recorded. You can definitely upload a few minutes long of a demo with several clips from several commercials. It will provide the client reviewing it a better idea of what your voice can do if they can hear several examples of that. Let me see here. What's the most memorable project you've worked on? I think the most memorable projects that stick in our heads are usually the tough ones. So I'm gonna say my most favorite projects to work on are, I love video games. I love reviewing video game shortlists. I love reviewing video game final projects. I think it's exciting to see. There's just so many different types of voices required in video games. Sometimes clients make up their own language for these video game scripts. Like, I think my most exciting projects are working with people who are developing app video games, people who work within the larger names in the industry. Anytime that we're able to land a video game project for a large game for our talents, it's very exciting for me. So those are my favorite clients to work with and my favorite castings to review. How do you recommend setting up profiles? Oh, I think I already answered that one. I recommend you set up your profile, ensure you have demos for each of the categories so that you get the best visibility for people in all industries. How often do you get animation project? Doesn't matter big or small. Animations probably on the daily. I would say we have animation projects, and these can range from explainer videos are often animation based. So they could be smaller projects like explainers on how to use a product, how to use a service, how to use an app, introducing a company. Or it could be even an animation for like a cartoon, like a child's cartoon. A lot of them are being released on YouTube now. So I would say these opportunities come in daily for each one of us in our client department. So it's probably one of our most popular categories to post in. I have my demos loaded on Voices, but I have not worked with any clients professionally. What would you recommend? Howard, I can take a look at your profile. I'm not sure what to recommend without knowing or reviewing your demos or reviewing the specific auditions that you have. But I think the biggest tip that I can provide is ensuring you're auditioning frequently, daily. It's not one of those things where you can just audition once and hope to get hired. I think it's definitely one of those things where you have to put your hat in the ring quite frequently to have visibility, and oftentimes You'd be surprised. Sometimes I hear an audition for something, you might not be right for that project, but I will ensure that I invite you to a future project when I hear that your voice is has a specific tonality to it, or I know that you're able to work within the direction that a new client needs. I'll often refer to previous auditions and invite you to audition for a new project. So even if you're not hired for that one project you auditioned for, it could very well be that you're included on a shortlist or a favorites list for future projects for that client. Jesse, how do clients see the audition list? Is it sorted chronologically, or by job match, or by a mix of both? Through our self-serve, the audition list, I believe it's done chronologically.
It used to be voice match first, wasn't it?
Okay. So the self-serve ones are done by voice match. Sorry. It's a lot different than in our managed service department, of course. The managed service department shortlists, it will often be on different factors. It could be by price, it could be by gender, it could be by, it really depends on how the client themselves wants those shortlists divided or organized. But on our site, it is by job match. What would you recommend to include or not include in the proposal? Reg, I would recommend including any questions that the Voices managed services or any Voices clients have asked in the job posting. I would recommend answering any of those questions first. Then I would introduce myself. Feel free to let them know past experience, past clients, anything related to that job. If you're auditioning for an animation for an explainer video for a medical project, maybe let them know other medical projects you've worked on. I've even had voice talents tell me that they're medical doctors, and that gives them a leg up because then they have more experience with medical jargon. In another category, I would say if you're recording a video game or you're recording a commercial project and you have experience in recording similar ones, let us know those past clients in your proposal. Let us know what type of software you use, or that you're available for a directed session if that's requested. Really just review the job posting and ensure you're answering all of the questions that are asked of you within that job posting. Randy's gonna double check if it's voice match first, but he'll put that information in there for you. See if there's any other questions. If a client is looking for someone with a different accent than I have, should I avoid auditioning? This is a good question. I think it depends on the nature of the project, and of course, if you're auditioning for something within your native language, there's some localizations that require very specific accents for specific markets. And so if we're looking for say a Peruvian Spanish talent in the job posting, then we really need to send people who are located within Peru or people who are native to Peru. That's just for an example. But there's other markets that just require someone who speaks the language. So the only thing I would steer clear from is putting on an accent that's not natural to you. If you aren't, say, a native Spanish speaker, then I wouldn't recommend putting on a Spanish accent for an audition. It's very quite clear and sticks out. And of course, clients are located within the markets that they're hiring, and so they're very aware if the accent isn't localized to the market they're looking for. Voices is like a subscription service. Do you offer different prices for clients who may be able to afford something they don't really need? I think if you're looking to become a voice talent, we do have different subscriptions for you. We also have a free guest account that you can just jump on, check out the platform, check out some available jobs. So look into our resources available on the platform for more information on those subscriptions. How long until we get British Southwest accents as a tag for samples? I feel left out. Honestly, the majority of the time, people asking for British are looking for RP, of course, or just general British accents. So even if it isn't tagged specifically Southwest, I do encourage you, Jaden, to audition for all British projects. If we archive previous completed auditions, are they still visible to you for possible future job listings? If you archive a previous audition, it is not visible to anyone but you. So I do recommend, oftentimes, clients will come back a month or two. I've had clients come back a year or two later requesting a talent from a previous audition. And so I do recommend leaving those up, because oftentimes we have to go in and get in touch with that talent and have them re-upload the audition. And so it's just best for visibility for you to leave your auditions within the audition job posting. As long as you're not reading the script in its entirety, then it wouldn't be used without your permission. You've submitted a lot of auditions, Michael, but you haven't booked any of them. You know they sound great, but the clients are not listening to most of what I submit. It's difficult for me to know specifics to provide some feedback on that, Michael, but I would look to our support team. Maybe we could look into some of your auditions. Maybe it's that it's not hitting the right requirements added in the job posting. Maybe the accent or tonality isn't what they're looking for. I'd be happy to kind of look into this, but it's difficult for me to answer that question without knowing exactly what you're auditioning for or what your reads sound like. What do you recommend filling out in the previous experience section? Previous experience could be not just definitely start with your voiceover experience or past clients, but I don't think that you need to stop there. I think your previous experience in education or career are also valuable oftentimes to know. I recently had a client who wanted to hire people with experience in martial arts for a voice project. So I did go through and look for people experienced in martial arts. I also have some relationships with talents just from speaking over projects, knowing that they had experience in martial arts. So you never know when that past experience comes into play. Like my previous example, people within the medical industry are often looking for people with experience within the medical industry, past nurses, doctors, medical practitioners. So oftentimes your past experience outside of the voiceover community will come into play when you get hired. It adds to your expertise. You're completely beginner to voiceover. Any tips? I think I've answered this a few times, but look into our help resources, look into any coaching available, and look into forums and learning from your fellow voiceover community, because they're the best resource for knowing how to begin and how to be successful. How should we verify the authenticity of clients we audition for and protecting our voices and AI copying on voices in an open market? We do a lot to ensure that the clients on voices are authentic, real people. We have a lot of things in place to ensure that things aren't getting through, including like we review job auditions when clients are new to voices before they're posted. So we do a lot on our end to ensure that they're authentic. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach our support team or the AM or CPM working on the project, and they'll be happy to provide you more information on the background of the client or any information to help you feel more comfortable auditioning. Any other questions? I'm happy to help. Of course, feel free to reach us we have lots of resources online. Of course, there's a lot of talents within the community that can help. But I think my top 3 tips for having successful auditions, I'll reiterate, are reading the job postings thoroughly, ensuring that your voice demos and auditions are up to snuff commercially, so that they sound broadcast quality and are edited for room noise and deep breathing. And then ensuring that you audition frequently is also really important in order to be successful, because you never know when those auditions that you didn't get hired for will lead to opportunities in future. Well, I think we've slowed down on the questions coming in, so thank you everyone for joining us today and sending your questions over. It's always great to connect with the talent community and keep those auditions coming because we love to hear them and we love to bring more opportunities for you. So we're excited to see them come in, and let us know if you have any other questions. Happy to answer them. Thanks, Edwin. Does it hurt your feelings if we don't audition?